In the heart of a frozen wilderness, a wolf's desperate howl pierced the silence. It was a call for help, one that couldn't be ignored. Responding to reports of an injured wolf sighting, a team of wildlife rescuers embarked on a journey through the snow and ice. Their mission? To save a family on the brink of survival. As the team followed the trail of blood-stained paw prints, they knew time was against them. The freezing temperatures were unforgiving, and every step brought them closer to a life or death moment. There they were, a mother wolf, wounded and unable to hunt, shielding her pups from the biting cold. The pups, too young to fend for themselves, clung to her side, their tiny bodies shivering. The rescuers knew they had to act fast. Any wrong move could frighten the wolves into fleeing, or worse. Patience was key. Wolves are naturally wary of humans, and gaining their trust would require both skill and compassion. The team worked methodically, ensuring that the mother wolf and her pups wouldn't feel threatened. Would the team's efforts be enough to save the family? Or would the harsh wilderness claim yet another victim? What happened next would not only test their abilities, but also redefine their understanding of trust and survival. Every second felt like an eternity as the mother wolf inched closer. Injured and vulnerable, she had no choice but to trust the strangers before her. With her pups' survival at stake, she took a chance, one cautious step at a time. The team's relief was palpable. They had managed to safely secure the mother wolf without causing her further harm. But the pups still needed to be brought to safety, a task far more delicate. Rescuing the pups was no easy task. Their fear was evident, but so was their exhaustion. The rescuers knew that every moment counted. Exposure to the freezing temperatures had already taken its toll on their tiny bodies. With the wolves safely secured, the team began the arduous journey back to their rescue center. The wilderness tested their resolve at every turn. Steep inclines, icy paths, and the ever-present threat of predators. But they pressed on, driven by the hope of saving a family in need. The journey was fraught with challenges, but the team's unwavering determination shone through. They knew that the wolves' survival depended on their unity and resilience. After hours of battling the elements, the wolves were finally safe. The rescue was just the beginning, though. Now came the real challenge: healing their bodies and earning their trust. The rescue team had succeeded in bringing the wolf family to safety, but their journey was far from over. The mother wolf's injury needed immediate attention, and the pups, malnourished and weak, required constant care. This was a fight for survival and trust. At first, the wolves were wary, their instincts telling them to fear humans. But over time, small acts of kindness began to break down those barriers. A warm meal, a soothing touch, and the quiet presence of the rescuers slowly built a fragile bond. Moments like these reminded the team why they had chosen this path. For every challenge, there was a reward, a flicker of trust, a playful gesture, a sign that their efforts were making a difference. Week by week, the wolves grew stronger. The mother's wound healed and the pups became more energetic. But as they recovered, the team knew it was time to prepare for the hardest part, their return to the wild. Saying goodbye was never easy. The wolves had become a part of their lives, but their place was in the wild, a world they were destined to reclaim. With heavy hearts, the team released the family back into the forest. It was a bittersweet farewell. The wolves were free, but the bond formed between them and their rescuers would remain forever. What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. The wolf family returned, bringing a new member of their pack with them. It was their way of saying thank you, a gesture of trust and a testament to the unique alliance between humans and animals. This story is a reminder of the powerful connection we share with the natural world. You can be a part of this mission. Support animal rescue efforts, volunteer, or share these stories to inspire others. Together, we can create a world where compassion knows no bounds.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help.
From the forest to a forever bond. When Clara was in the middle of a chilly winter, when the snow covered the forest floor and silence had wrapped the world in an embrace that seemed so quiet, she often found herself heading into the woods to gather firewood. It was there that she was surrounded by silence, a thing she did on a weekly basis each time. It was a place where she could find solace and introspection, and the forest was the place where she could take refuge. However, on this particular occasion, her journey would lead her to something that was far more significant than the comfort of a fire that blazed inside of her. At the same time that Clara trudged through the snow and felt the crisp winter air brush against her cheeks, something odd began to dawn upon her, a faint noise that sounded like a hysterical appeal. It was a soft whimper that was almost totally blotted out by the roaring wind, but still she could listen to it. It was while pursuing the sound that she stumbled upon an event that would alter her life's future trajectory in ways she could not change from then on. Since it lay still there on the ground, a leg of a young fox was trapped in a fatal snare. Despite the fact that it could not move, the poor creature glanced up at her with eyes full of fear, and its fur was covered in blood. Clara's heart was so broken by the news. In this moment, which could have been the deciding factor in whether or not the animal lived or died, she was conscious of the fact that she could not allow the animal to endure any pain. Clara sought to reassure the fox by crouching down close to it and whispering words of comfort to it in an effort to calm it down. In spite of her hands being vigorously shaking, she worked very carefully to free the fox from the trap. Clara was determined in her mind that she was going to assist in whatever way she could, no matter how hard it was to do so. She held the animal close to her and carried it like it was a fragile little bird, like a baby bird, when she finally succeeded in attaining her goal of releasing the animal. With a newfound realization that she could not let the fox alone face the freezing night, Clara carefully accompanied the fox back to her cabin. As Clara cared for the wound's sicknesses, she cleaned it, rubbed ointment on it, and placed a beautiful blanket over it. At first, she prepared a small bed right next to the fireplace. Even when it was physically exhausted, the fox never took its eyes off of Clara. Its eyes were always trustworthy. As the days passed, the fox, which Clara had named Ember due to the orange glimmer that emanated from it, started gaining back. The misery in its eyes gradually receded and eventually gave way to a measured curiosity. The creature followed Clara around the cabin and saw the activities she performed as she plodded through her regular routine. It was watching her as she went about her routine. The recovery of Ember's vitality was a slow process that was, however, unstoppable. As it gained more and more self-assurance, the young fox, which had previously been timid and uncertain, started to participate in fun interactions with the snow and started to wag its tail. Also, it began to engage in playful interactions with the snow. The intense connection Clara felt for Ember was one she could not deny despite the best of her efforts. She had given him a second chance at life, and in return, he brought her happiness and companionship in her own life once again. She had handed him a second chance at life. Despite the fact that Clara yearned to have Ember by her side for all of eternity, she was aware that the forest was Ember's actual home. This was despite the fact that she longed to have both of them together. It was in that location that he experienced the greatest sense of belonging. He would always yearn to be outside because the forest is where he came from. This would be so because his heart always had a natural tendency to be drawn outwards. When Clara finally realized that it was time to let Ember go, she let her go with a heavy heart. She followed him back into the jungle the next morning, after he had been recovering for several weeks at that point. Turning her gaze back to Clara, Ember hesitated, and her eyes spoke of gratitude and something more profound. A bond that was not said. Ember did not need anything except maybe some long glimpse of him before she bolted into the woods and melted into the wild. There she watched him walking away, and with her watching, her heart literally crushed as she realized that just one thing would have to stand being enough for her to adore the fox, no matter how remote it might turn out to be. Clara felt like giving up as she reached her epiphany. After what seemed like an eternity, Clara slowly started to go back to her peaceful and calm life. Days turned into weeks. On the other hand, though the routine was peaceful, there was something missing. A great deal of happiness that a fox named Ember brought to the environment was something she needed. The question of whether or not he had ever given her any thought interested her. An event of great importance occurred on a morning that was cool and crisp. At the moment that Clara opened the door to her cabin, Ember was standing outside, and his tail was wagging with excitement. With that said, he was not alone at the time. There were 3 other foxes around him, 2 of which were adults, and 1 of which was a juvenile fox. All of them surrounded him. There was a similarity in the color of their fur to that of Ember's. I was completely engrossed in the situation there. They were members of Ember's family, and they had come to show gratitude to that person who had saved their lives. There was only a moment when the foxes stood there, giving a feeling that they were waiting for permission from Clara. And after that, in the blink of an eye, Ember thrust himself forward and gently touched the palm of Clara with his nose. Throughout the conversation, Clara's heart swelled up with emotion as she laughed with the others following her suit. These creatures returned to whom Ember had returned were actually part of that family he had been waiting for in the wild. He had come back to them. On the other hand, they had come to her, to the exact place where Ember had found healing and where she had given him a second chance at life. From the very next day after that particular day, the foxes started coming to Clara's cabin regularly. Every few days, Ember returns with his family, bringing them tokens of their gratitude from the forest, in the shape of small presents like pine cones, feathers, and berries. Such gifts symbolized the love they had for the forest. They would be welcomed by Clara, full of love and joy, and offer them food, play around with them, and sit with them by the fireplace on nights when it is cool. Because of the relation that she had with the foxes, they had bloomed into something that was beautiful but also profound between the two. After a period of time had passed, Clara came to the realization that her connection with Ember had become stronger in ways that she could not have imagined she would have been able to imagine before the passage of time. The love that she had shown him was not only returned by him, but it was also returned by his family in a tenfold quantity on top of that. The fact that they had become her companions and friends was a real reminder of the tremendous power that kindness possesses. Over time, they became her buddies. Clara's discovery was something that was significantly more important than firewood or the opportunity to spend time alone in the quiet, snowy woods. She had found a family, which was something she would never have thought of herself, but for which she felt a deep sense of love. She had found a family. Because of that, a love story began in the middle of the woods with the snow and the trees. This is not a love story. It is a simple and private relationship between a human being and the creatures that live in the forest. This happening brought to mind the realization that this forest, timeless beauty, may hold much more than trees and creatures, and that sometimes the smallest acts of compassion can form the deepest relationships. It is capable of containing love in all of its guises and manifestations. This heartwarming story is a monument to the power of compassion, and it is a testament of the remarkable influence that a single person can have on the life of an animal. It is a reminder of the transformative potential of compassion. Every single action, whether it be rescuing an injured animal, providing support for local wildlife efforts, or simply spreading kindness, has the potential to make a difference in the world. If you are an animal lover who is interested in helping animals like Ember, you can consider making a financial contribution to animal rescue organizations in your local area. We are able to work together and make the planet a more favorable environment for all of the various sorts of living organisms that inhabit it.